uh, start the land use meeting for tonight, which contains two issues. One is reappearance by Strand Avenue, which is at the corner of Baychester, and the other one is housing on Seymour Avenue. So we're going to start with Strang. So I would ask the people here representing Strang to please announce who they are and give your presentation.
Hello, good evening. For the sake of brevity, I'll be as fast as I can be, because I know you have an agenda. My name is Eric Palatnik, and I'm a zoning and land use attorney, and I'm representing the owners of Strang Avenue, which is Warden Realty, and it's an application for a rezoning. It's at the corner of Strang and Baychester, and it's zoning to request to take a diner site that's been a diner forever and allow the diner to be knocked down and to build a small retail building that'll be about 3,500, 3,600 square feet. And I'll have a bank and 12 parking spaces in the back, and I'll show you that in a second. Also with us tonight is Austin Corey, Austin is controlling the screen, and with that, if he has permission, I'd ask him to pull up the screen to show you some pictures of what we're doing. And
yes, he can share the screen.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you. And also with us is Jessica Corris. She worked on the matter with us. She's a land use and planner, and she's been not going to be presenting tonight, but she's very familiar with everything. And also with us is Stephen Gambino, the project architect. You may see this here because I've been before you a number of times before the application was certified for the rezoning at city planning. It was certified just a few weeks ago at city planning, which means that it's moved through the formal land use review process, ULURP. And once it's engaged in ULURP, it runs on a track that moves it through from you to the borough president, to city planning, to the council person, all through to the city council, ultimately at the mayor's desk in a 6-month process, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and you are the very first step in that. You've met with us on many occasions before this, while you've been in the pre-certification time frame, and you've given us many comments throughout that, things relating to landscaping, the location of the bus stop and the entrance to the parking lot, the use that's in there, the proposed bank, things like that. We've spoken about that, I think, for about three or four different times, and now we're back before you again because this will be the last time you're hearing from me, because it's been formally certified at city planning, so it's in ULURP. Also, to let you know, since I met with you last, we've taken the time to spend some time with the borough president, who is incredibly kind. And I believe she liked the application, but I won't put words in her mouth. She did not indicate that she did not like it, but she hasn't taken her position formally yet. We also had the chance to meet with your councilman, and your councilman you're very lucky because he's also the chair of the land use committee in the city council, which is the most powerful position I believe, next to the mayor in New York City, because everybody needs land in New York City. So when you're that person, and Chair Riley is that person, it's a very good position for you to be in as the board. So kudos to all of you for having your council member be in that position. And we've met with him, and we've gone through the project, and I'll let you speak to him and learn what he thinks about it. And I won't say his words either, but I don't think he was opposed to it, but I'll let him tell you for sure. So with that as the introduction, I'll go right now to show you what we're doing. Very simple. I haven't seen it before. The site is shown right there in the middle. It's the site. It's right behind the shopping center. The shopping center is zoned commercially. The site is not. Austin, if you can get one more picture of the site, and Ariel, if you can get to one more zoomed in a little closer, Ariel, if we got one. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So the site, you can see it a little bit better right there. And that's what we're asking to rezone. And it's been a diner for decades, and the diner's been empty. It's been operating. The diner, when it operated by what's called a variance. It means it always got an exception from the city of New York. Well, now we weren't able to bring it back for an exception, because the right thing to do is to rezone it and give it a commercial overlay. So we've been working on that for the past few years. And you can see the project site right here. What we're asking you to do is permission to build, Austin. If you can go to the very end and show a rendered image of the site, please. That's what we're asking you to build. We're asking you to knock down the old bank that's there and build that. You could see in the far left corner, is the City Bank that's across the street. It's at the tail end of the shopping center I spoke about. If you give us the zoning that we're asking for, which is to put a commercial overlay, a C23 overlay over the property, it will look like this when it's done. Hopefully the street will be this vibrant. You could also see that there is a bus stop out front. That is not an accident. The bus stop has been put there. Obviously it's there, but it's been put in the rendered image to depict the distance from the ramp, the entrance to the parking lot, and you can see the landscaping and whatnot that we have proposed around the site. It's just hopefully everything you're looking for. One of the uses has been selected. That's Bank of America. They're anxious to come in. And the other use is about 1,800 square feet is not yet been selected. We spoke to the borough president, and she was looking for a food establishment. I think it might have been a Caribbean food establishment she was suggesting there. And we said, if you could find us a tenant, we're open to ideas. So that's the idea for the building. The map, Austin, if you can go to the map now, and then we'll go to site plan. Go to zoning map change, please, Austin. Okay. So this is right now, the left side is what the existing zoning map change is. And Austin, we should really put a red circle around it. The right side is what we're proposing. So where Austin is moving the cursor right now on the right side. Stay on one side, Austin, one or the other. There you go. Pick one side. Go. There you go. You keep moving. It's like a game. All right. So where he's moving the cursor right now, that's the corner of Baychester and Strang. That's the site. That's the proposed zoning map. So you can see if you move the cursor off that a little bit, Austin, you can see there's some dashed lines right there. That's signifying the proposed zoning map that we'd want to extend onto the property. You see it mimics what's next door to it, which is C23 and across the street. We just want to run it right across the street. On the left side shows you the map right now. The site, Austin, can you move the cursor over there where the site is on the left side a little bit, please? Right there is where the site is. And you can see that's a pure R4 district. There is no overlay. So by making it look like the right side, the map, that'll give it the commercial overlay, a C23. That'll give them the right to build it as of right without, going for any more special approvals after the zoning change. And they could build the building that we showed you. And I'll show you the site plan now, and then I'm done talking. Site plan, please, Austin. So the site plan is depicted right here. And Stephen is on the phone with us, and he could speak to you about this in greater detail. He's the architect. He's showing you here the parking spaces in the back, the landscape entrances at the left side and the right. There'll be landscaping around the back, the parking area there where you see the slash lines, and there'll be a PVC fencing, a really nice fence that's going to run around the perimeter of the property. And that is essentially our application. If you can close this off, Austin, you can pull the regular screen back, close the screen down. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about it. Our next stop after this, it goes to the borough president. Well, it goes to your full board, obviously. And then it would go to the borough president for her recommendation, and to city planning and so forth until we hopefully get to the end and get approved, which would be in about 4 or 5 months. Thank you for your time.
Mike, can you see anybody has a question, please?
Yes, sir. George Torres, our district manager.
Hey, so for our board members, Eric, you might have to come back because we have to schedule a public hearing for this application. So even if we approve it, we have to take it for a public hearing, have whatever discussion, and then take it to the full board, and that's pretty much it. That's my only statement.
Thank you for letting me know.
Wait,
Any other questions?
Hang on for a second, Mr. Stricker. So let me make sure I'm saying we have to have a public hearing before we vote on it tonight?
No, we can vote on it tonight. We have to have public hearing for all land use items.
Yes.
So this has to go for a public hearing prior. Well, it doesn't have to be prior. You could have the full board vote, but maybe you want to take comments at the public hearing. So usually we do that before the full board meeting.
Yes, I think the committee's ready to go, but like I said, I can't speak for the committee. But anyway, Mr. Stricker, I don't see more hands other than.
I'm sorry, and Eric, you guys, we're on the clock. When is our 60 days up? I'm forgetting right now.
I don't have the date you were certified. I certified. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, though, that I certified.
Yeah, we have some time. We can do this for the. Although I don't know if we make. What are we in it now? April. I don't know if we have until May.
Jessica, do you happen to know the date we were certified? I know you're on the phone. If not, while you're talking, I could go to my computer and look up while you're
Yeah,
talking.
I'll try and look it up. Our next full board meeting for May is May 26th.
No. Oh, you said for May? Oh, so you said May. I'm thinking April.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh, you May. You're right.
By the way,
Sorry about that.
I think it's that nobody could accept your recommendation after the 60 days if you happen to run a few days.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the concern.
Still could carries clout and could be heard, but we'll get back to you and let you know the dates and let you know if we can't figure it out right now. But I'll go look at my computer in a few minutes while you're talking.
All right.
Mr. Stricker, we have a question from Alfredo Figueroa.
Go ahead.
Good evening, guys. Thank you, Eric and Mr. Gambino. Nice presentation, nice renderings. Two things. Is the Bank of America, is it gonna have like one of those self-service ATM in back where the parking is at? I didn't see it on the site plan.
No, there will be no ATM service to that bank.
Okay. And then I don't know if the developers here, besides the actual bank itself, we have one retail store or two?
One retail store.
One.
There's two total. One in addition.
Yeah, so it's the bank and then a store.
And a retail store.
Yeah. Do we have a potential tenant for that retail store?
Not at this moment.
Not at this moment. All right, thank you.
Chair,
Any
to
other?
answer your question, the matter was certified on March 14th at City Planning.
Thank you. So with
March
30
14th, so
days, we're 30 days
Yeah.
into the 60-day limit.
You're 21 days probably. It's you're 30. It's already the 11th. You're right. I apologize. Yeah, you're days into it. As I said before, if you happen to run into May, I think if you speak to everybody, they can accept it. If you make arrangements ahead of time, I don't think anybody would not accept your recommendation if you ran over the clock. But it's up to you.
I don't think that's the way it works. We got to vote on this at the next general board meeting based on what you just said.
You should be. Yeah.
One issue I see coming up here at land use hearings, we used to invite the surrounding community to when we had a land use. I don't believe that is happening. And then that would negate the need for a public hearing because public hearing will be part of the land use meeting.
Well, let me comment on that, Mr. Stricker. So, because I see Ursula has her hand up, she's next, Mr. Stricker. So, what happened is that as you know, the outgoing or the former comptroller, Scott Stringer, pretty much dinged all the community boards because they were saying that we were not holding public hearings as it pertained to ULURP and everything else. And so, and I remember, having discussions in the office. Well, to your point, that's why we have the open meetings law so that people can come to our committee meetings when they discuss this. But like I said, Mr. Stringer said, well, yeah, that's well and good, but we still want a public hearing. So in essence, we have to do this twice. But based on what you just said, we have to vote on this at the general board meeting, because if not, we're going to miss our opportunity. So we need a recommendation tonight. Somehow or another, we can still have the public hearing, but we have to have that vote on the 28th based on the dates that we were just given. So Ursula, you have your hand up. I'm sorry, Mr. Stricker, what were you about to say?
I said we can have the public hearing before the main meeting.
Ursula?
Hey, I just wanted to say that we have to publish in the city record 2 weeks. So I need at least 2 weeks.
Publish what, Ursula?
I have to publish the notification about the hearing into the city record, and I need 2 weeks.
I understand that.
Yeah, but it doesn't work because the board meeting will be less than 2 weeks away, and the May board meeting is past the limit. So what do you do in a case like that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, next.
Can't we do it from tonight based on just the recommendation we give? And you can start publishing tomorrow, Ursula?
I can publish it, but usually city record wants 2 weeks. And you can't call this the public hearing because we didn't do it properly. Like there's a whole process that we do in the office.
No, I understand that. I understand that, Ursula.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah,
Miss-
it's my understanding.
Mr. Hall, we can't hear you. Can you speak up, sir?
Yeah, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carl. If there is no scrutiny from the public, we should be able to go forward. All right. The only interference would be that 2-week period that Ursula is talking about. So, you know, that I think that's where you stand.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, this, you know, all I know is I remember we used to have the land use meeting and a public hearing at the same time. If it was deemed that a vote would have to be taken.
Okay.
And that seems to have fallen through the cracks, but that's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Stricker, I don't see any more hands.
Okay, yeah. Being no more questions, I will close this hearing at 7:21 on April 11th, the year 2022, and ask for a vote. And my recommendation is that we approve the zoning change because what's there right now is an eyesore. So my recommendation is we approve the zoning change. And do I have a second?
I second it, Alfredo Figueroa.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo. So we
Alfredo,
can.
wait. Let me. Part of parliamentary procedure has to be someone from the committee, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Judith Benitez will second it for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Sorry there, Fernando. Okay, can we take a vote?
We can, Mr. Stricker. Let me just let you know your committee members that are here, not including myself. You have Ms. Benitez, you have Carla, John Isaac is absent, Anthony Reed is absent, and you have Ms. Denise Bond is here.
Okay, so look, I mean, and so we're only missing one person really, and that's John, because there's 4 people that have left the land use committee.
Right. I mean,
Is Keisha no longer on the board?
What was the question?
Keisha Margot Lawton, she no longer on the board on the
No,
committee?
she said she's on the board. She can't be here tonight. She sent us.
So you're missing 3 people.
No, Anthony Reed is not here.
And John.
Right.
And Harry.
No.
That's 4. That's 4.
That's what I said. It's 4.
Okay. And how many people are on the committee?
10.
No, you lost
No.
people.
There's 2 people that
We lost Carlos Zano
and Sidney Blair.
in Sydney.
Sidney Blair. All right, so now you have 8 people on the board, which 4 are here.
Okay.
All right, so let's take this call.
Carl, that's not a quorum.
Wait a minute. I'm here too, George.
If you add in the ex officio.
Yeah, I'm here, so that is a quorum.
Okay.
Thank you. Can we take a vote on this, please?
You're the chair, Mr. Stricker.
Oh, I call the names out.
Oh,
Judy
okay.
Benitez? Yeah.
I.
Carla Basati? Carla Basati?
Aye.
Okay. Sidney Blair?
No, Sydney, no, you don't have Sydney. You got Denise Bond.
Oh, Denise Bonds?
Aye.
And you got B, which of course I'm an I.
And myself is an aye, so it passes unanimous. So we'll prepare a vote for the community board.
Thank you for your time. I'll be back in touch and follow up with you to find out when the full board.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. It was a good presentation, even though I didn't see it. but I can tell for being involved with construction for years. So,
All right. Well, thank you.
and besides, that's an eyesore. I'm really happy to see it go.
And it's a good owner. The people we're representing happen to be class act. So if there's any issues or anything comes up, let us know. They'll address it immediately.
All right. The only reason I was asking if you have a potential tenant, because we don't need another smoke shop in that area. We already got 4 of them.
Oh, you're not getting that out of this owner. This is the name of the owner is the New York City boy in the stock room of a Kmart or a Walmart, and now he's one of the largest property owners in North America City. He's local and he's only looking to do nice stuff. He's done what he's done the Burlington Coat Factory. Done a lot of nice spots about around the city. So good job here.
No smoke shop. Just relay the message.
No smoke shop.
No smoke shop.
Unless you want a tattoo shop, but you know
what, Eric? I'd rather have that than a smoke shop. To be honest with you.
Listen, we're gonna get you something that you want to see there that I think.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Well, I remember we talked about that going out to a bank, but anyway, we approved it. So we talked about even the bank taking the whole thing. But anyway, let's move on. Mr. Stricker, it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay, now let's move to the second portion of tonight's land use meeting. We're going to have a discussion on, I believe it's apartment building.
Yes, sir. You want me to share my screen?
For the church on Seymour Avenue?
Yes, sir. Let me share my screen for her. Oops, let's make sure. Yes, sir. So it's a New Testament Temple Church of God located at 3350 Seymour Avenue. They're here to present about senior affordable housing, Mr. Stricker.
Okay, so let them make their presentation. Who's ever representing, you may speak.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Peart. I am the senior pastor of the New Testament Temple Church of God. I'm here with can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I am here with my administrative pastor, Gladstone Johnson, and the developer that we chose to represent us, that is Brissa. She's Erica Keller. And we are basically here responding to the call from the city as a church to if we can make our parking lot available to provide affordable housing for the citizens of New York. So I want to thank everyone for being here and for allowing us to come and present. So I would like to introduce myself and the church after we get a chance to see what we're trying to present. And so at this time, I'm going to introduce to you Erica Keller from the Brissa Builders Corporation. Erica.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much, Pastor Peart, for that introduction. My name is Erica Keller. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm having a little technical difficulties. I did warn Pastor Peart that WebEx does not seem to work very well with my computer. So unfortunately, I'm joining you by phone. And I hope, Pastor Peart, that you were able to share. Will be
Ms. Keller, we can't hear you.
We lost you, Ms. Keller.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. WebEx does not seem to be a friendly platform for me. And so I am joining you by phone. I'm unable to get on it on my computer. So can you still hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So we're
we
here
can hear
to
you.
Okay, great. We're here to we're here to have a very preliminary conversation as a result of an informal meeting that we had with Council Member Riley to discuss the proposal that we have for New Testament Temple the expansion of their church, as well as the provision of affordable housing at 3350 Seymour Avenue, where the church is currently located. We met with Councilmember Riley on January 18th, and at that time, we were having a formal session upon which we were
Are you there?
We lost you, Ms. Keller. Ms. Keller, we still can't hear you. Reverend Pert, you may have to step in because we can't hear Ms. Keller. Her mic is open, but we can't hear her.
Yes, thank you. I may have the same problem that she has with
No, we can hear you.
WebEx because this is my first time downloading and using WebEx on my computer. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just
Yep.
fine. We just can't hear Ms. Keller.
Okay. She's still talking, but we cannot
She's
hear her.
still talking, but you can't hear her. It's just, I mean, her mic is open.
Right. Pastor, if I can make a suggestion, if you could maybe
Yes.
phone Miss Keller and tell her that she should sign out and then try to sign back in maybe, and see if that would help her to rectify the
Okay.
problem on her phone, since she said she can't do it on her computer.
And not only that, our district manager told her to, I'm looking at something in the chat.
I yeah.
Yeah, he said to have her call in.
Okay.
Yeah, you could use a landline to call in. So that may be the thing to do. So I don't know, was she going to do the presentation? Because I saw slides a while back. And so who has the slides?
She should be the one with the slides. I'm trying to call her now. Yes, Erica, they're saying what you could do is hang up and try to call back and see if you can get it better that way. Okay. She's asking about a telephone number.
George, can you provide that information, please? Because I'm trying to see if I can find the slides.
Yeah, hold on one sec. I'll put it in the chat for everybody. Meeting info right here. Sorry. Why is that not? Oh, sorry. It says you toll free is 1408. Well, I'll just copy it if I can.
Yes.
So Reverend Pert, let me ask you this question. Do you have the slides? Because I mean, we have a copy of the slides. And so how do you want to go about doing this?
No, I do not have the slides. Erica has the slides. I have a rendering, but WebEx is not allowing me to share
Well, you
it.
should be, anybody could share. So if you want, what can happen, what I can do is this to try to help you. I mean, because I saw the slides and they look pretty good, truth be told.
Yes.
Well, no, okay. No, only thing I have is a rendering too. I thought I had the slides. So I thought that there were, hang on for a second. Now my computer's cutting up.
Erica, you ready?
Yeah, I have a PowerPoint presentation.
1408.
So if you want,
For what?
I can just show my screen.
I think Dr. Burke, I think the pastor's on with Erica right now.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not looking at the passcode right now, Erica. Hold on, please.
Is there a passcode? I need a passcode.
Yes. There's a meeting password. You ready? Okay. There's a meeting access code, Erica. You ready? Erica? Erica? Yes. The access code 2332 003 6508. And their meeting password. Yes.
So they working?
This is fucking block. Yeah, we definitely need a live presentation like that. The board can understand what is that's going on. It's very important that we have somebody present this.
Perhaps I can just introduce myself and the church for a while and wait until Erica catches up. Is that okay?
Well, that's fine. Like I said, I have the slides ready, Pastor Pert. So it's up to you. However you want to do it. This floor is still yours.
All right. So, my name is Paul Peart. I've been pastor here at New Testament Temple for the past 28 years. I've lived in this community for over 40 years. I went to Michelangelo Intermediate School and Truman High School. And at some point in my teenage years, I had to make a decision what direction I was going to go. And I was looking back over my life and thinking things over. And I remember specifically thinking to myself that I'm either going to be the worst bad man around town or the best Christian person that I could be. And so I made a choice to become a minister and a pastor. And so I've been pastoring here now for 28 years, and we have tried to ensure that the church be as community-minded as possible. In 2001, 2002, we started a faith-based community outreach agency, rather a faith-based organization called Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency. And for the past 20 or so years, we have committed ourselves to do as many outreach projects as we can, such as clothing distribution, food distribution. We do literacy program, GED, and a host of other things like immigration, job assistance, and so forth. And so this is what we've been doing over the past 20 or so years. This past 2 years have been especially significant because when COVID hit, we were running this food pantry serving about 300 families per week. And then when COVID hit, the question came up as to whether we should close down or stay open. And because we felt the need to keep on ministering to the community, we decided to keep our operation open. We asked permission. And so all throughout COVID, we have stayed open. And the fact is that the number of persons that we serve went up to about 2,000 families per week. We even extended ourselves and helped about 30 other churches across the city to open their own pantry, and we are still supplying them until this day. The other thing that we're presently doing is that we have 4 mobile pantries in the NYCHA housing communities. And we're also launching literacy program also, because we heard that a number of the children in there, because of COVID, had fallen back on their studies. And so a church is mobilizing with other organizations to really make a positive impact on the community. But what we're here to talk about tonight specifically is how we can also help to alleviate the critical shortage of housing in the Bronx as well as in New York. And so this rendering or this project that Erica, hopefully she can come on, or you can
I'm on.
You're on, Erica?
I'm on via telephone, yes.
Okay, and so now I'm going to toss it back to Erica, and so she can share some more particulars about our project as it is seen on the screen. Thank you.
So greetings, everyone. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties we are having this evening. I'm sort of talking blindly because I'm on the phone and I cannot see what's there before you, but hopefully you have the cover page, which shows a rendering of what we are proposing. So I was trying to explain a little bit earlier that New Testament Temple released an RFP in 2020 and the early part of 2020, and my firm, Brisa Builders, which is a minority women-built business enterprise, that we are based primarily in Brooklyn. However, we focus on affordable housing in the 5 boroughs as well as upstate New York, and now we have a New England portfolio as well. And so we responded to the RFP along with other developers, and we were awarded the RFP in 2020. Since then, we have been working with New Testament Temple to formulate a proposal that we believe will be acceptable not only to the agencies, but hopefully in the community, to the community, in order to sort of actualize what the church envisions in reference to expanding their not-for-profit social service provision, as well as providing a housing ministry. We do have to request a rezone of the lots that are owned by the church. They are currently
Ms. Keller, can I
located
interrupt you briefly? Can I? So
Yes.
I've got the slides up. So I've got slide 1. So if you want to direct me, I know you're going blind, but I've got
Right.
slides 1, which is your renderings, up to oh snaps, up to, let's see, a 7. So I've got 10 slides that you have. So I don't know if you want to direct me. I mean, I can, we can do it that way. Even though I know you're going blind, but I know we started on the cover page, and right now my computer is acting up. And I see that our community associate has her hand up as well, so she may have a question that may help you help us in this presentation as well.
Okay. So I was trying to see if I could pull it up on my phone so that I would have a visual to kind of speak through.
Okay,
but the
that's
cover
fine.
Page, if everyone had an opportunity to look at the cover page, there it sort of gave you a perspective of what we're proposing. And we're proposing to expand the current church building and to, which would allow them to have greater capacity to provide the social service programs as well as the house of worship to a larger congregation. We are flanking the building on either side with community facility space, approximately 18,000 feet in total, again, which would allow the church to provide their social services in a more centralized way, which include the food pantry, as well as daycare services and other programs that they have provided to the community. On the right-hand side, as you're looking at the rendering, we are proposing 95 units of senior housing under the New York City HPD SARA program. And that program is for independent living for seniors ages 62 and older, that are supported by project-based vouchers, which allows the housing to be very affordable, where seniors are only paying 30% of their income towards the rent of the apartment. On the left-hand side, you see another sort of white-colored building, And in that building, we are proposing 45 units of family housing in what's referred to as the Neighborhood Construction Program. The acronym is NCP. And that program sort of allows us to support varied incomes in the community. So not only are we providing opportunities for deep affordability for formerly homeless families, but we're also targeting workforce community workers, people who, you know, have careers that take them out of the 60% AMI and below, but will allow them to stay in the community that they may have grown up in, but targets upper tier salaries as well. And that program would allow us to go up to 120% AMI so that we would have the varied ability there in that building to support formerly homeless families as well as families that are considered moderate income, sort of over the 100% AMI threshold. And so in order to provide all of these different spaces, this lot is currently zoned an it's a split zone lot where it's an R5 as well as an R6A, and we would be proposing an R6 in order to allow us to do the senior building, the family building, and the expansion of the church and the community facility space. We met with Councilmember Riley on January 18th for what we called an informational session, which was a very early conversation. The church really wanted to do this out of respect for the community because they have, you know, this great idea, but they wanted to make sure that this was in alignment with the council member's vision for the community as well. And he was very much in support of the idea, particularly in reference to the seniors, which he feels that there's a real need to provide affordable housing for seniors. But he insisted that we have a very early conversation with the land use committee as well, and possibly the full community board, because he wanted to ensure that this was something that the community saw as viable to enhancing the community and would not be, you know, an impediment to what their vision is of the community. So we are here this evening to, again, have an informal session. We haven't begun the pre-certification process in terms of having the consultants do the technical work necessary, but we do have a plan based on our work with the architect and our discussions with the church, and we want to have community input in that plan at the very early stages so that we are all working together to provide what the church visions in reference to housing as well as social services.
Ms. Keller, let me ask you this question. Do you want me to go down? If you have your phone, I can go down, and if you want to talk about the layout?
Sure. So let me, I can't seem to, give me 1 second. Let me just pull it up on my phone, and then.
So I'm on slide 2 right now, where it has what the basement floor plan.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just pull it up. Okay. Okay. So we discussed the rendering page, right? And you see the church there. It's flanked by the community facility in the grays, and then the red building is the senior building, the white building is the family building. We're proposing about 120 parking spaces in total, some designated for the church, some designated for the families. And then on the second page, we have, this is the lower level. So basically, there isn't much to show here in reference just to utility and some entrance for the church. If you go to the third page is what it's saying on my phone. It may be not correlated. But on the third page, we are showing again where we have the layout. So you see that church space is indicated in blue. And then you see the non-religious community facility space where the social service programs would be offered are in sort of the pinkish color. So you see on either side of the church space are the community facility spaces for the social service programs. And then on that page there, which is the ground floor plan, you see the entrance for the residential building, which would be the NCP building. And you see on the right-hand side, the entrance lobby area for the residential entrance for the Sarah building, which would be the senior building. On the next page, again, you see the non-religious community facility space, again, programming for the Good Neighbor program, where they'll be able to expand the services that they have been providing even through the pandemic. On the next page, we see where we're proposing the expansion of the church to allow for additional seating and supports for the church from a religious perspective. And then you see on either side, we're beginning to see the typical floor layout, I believe, of the Sarah building on the right-hand side, as well as NCP building on the left-hand side. The Sarah program primarily is 0 and 1 bedrooms, where there's usually about a 60-40 split. And then the families, we would have studios, 1, 2, and a few 3-bedroom units available. On the following pages, again, we just have the community. It indicates where the community facility space would be indicated, and then you have the typical floor plans for the residential buildings that flank both sides of the church space. The last page has a stacking chart where, again, the blue is the church space and the yellow indicates the residential. And then we have sort of a structure on how we propose to build the spaces, because there is a separation of church and state, so that, you know, funds that are used to expand the church have to be private funds, whereas the funds for the family building, the community facility, and the senior building can be a combination of private equity as well as public funding. And on the last page, again, we just have a rendering of the proposal, and we thank you for this difficult way of presenting this evening. So I don't know, Pastor Pert, if you want to add anything, but we will open the door for questions. And again, we preface this is an initial conversation. We have not started the pre-certification process. We wanted to have a conversation before starting that process.
Okay. My name is Carl Strick. I'm chair of the Land Use Committee. I have one question. Now, you have one building for senior citizens, basically. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the other building is for families.
Yeah.
Now, the family building is any age? You don't have to be a senior, is that correct?
You don't have to be a senior. There's no age restriction with the family building. You just have to be eligible to sign a lease, old enough to sign a lease.
Okay. Now, is that going to be affordable housing or a market rate?
It would be affordable. It would be under the affordable housing program called Neighborhood Construction Program. That program does give us some flexibility to go to touch some higher tiers, because in New York City, because Manhattan has such high salaries and such high rents, New York City is always sort of skewed in reference to what is considered affordable housing. So any rents that are 165% of the average median income, anyone who makes up to 165% of the average median income is still eligible for affordable housing in New York City. Now, obviously, the lower your income, the deeper the affordability. So in this instance, we would be touching on those that are at somewhat of the higher tier of that eligibility, as well as those that are at the lower end of that eligibility as well. So we would have a range from families that may be coming out of the shelter, as well as families who are making above 100% of the average median income. So there would be a wide range in the building of different salaries.
Now, I believe the average income is about 65,000. Is that correct?
Actually, they're releasing those numbers now, HUD, and then they'll be setting the new rents based on that. So I haven't seen the latest data, but I believe from last year, that's around where the number was.
Okay, thank you. And if we give our approval to this, and I can't see why we wouldn't, when do you plan on starting construction?
So we would have to go through the full ULURP process, and we estimate that there is a bit of a backlog because of the pandemic. So we would have at least 2 years out before we could start construction.
Okay, so we don't even, we can say we approve the concept, and when you're ready to go forward, then you have to come back to the board so we can have a public hearing. So,
exactly.
So the community around has their input, but I can't see anybody opposing this personally. And
okay.
No, not at all, Mr. Stricker. And in fact, looking at some of the recommendations that they've received, I mean, they obviously dot their I's and cross their T's. So, like you, I don't see a problem. If you want, Mr. Stricker, there's plenty of people who have their hands up, and I apologize to the attendees because my computer froze on slide 7. So, you know, I didn't get to show the last slide, but all community board members, Ms. Keller, should have these slides because I know the district manager and Ursula sent this out about 2 or 3 months ago. So everybody on the community board should have the slides already. So it's just a matter of them finding it. So let me get to the questions. So Ursula Green had her hand up first, Mr. Stricker.
So go ahead, go. You see them, I don't.
Hi, so this is going to be rare coming from me, but I got a concern. Pastor Perk, where's everybody going to park? Me and you, well, I've talked to others at your church. This is a big issue. So I don't see how we're going to be friendly with the neighborhood when you're taking away the parking lot.
The parking, so we're proposing now about 100, and we have to do more parking study because we do have some concern about the elevation there on Seymour Avenue. But right now we're proposing about 120 parking spaces that would be in the rear of the church and it would be attended parking with parking stackers, so that the church would be allocated a certain amount of parking. And it's indicated there, I don't remember exactly what page on the presentation, but it does show in the rear, I think it shows about 78 on this initial study, which was done in January of 2020. We've since expanded on the study, but still need to do more studies. So we are proposing in total about 120. There's about 28 that are required for the residential because this particular site is considered a non-transit zone. So therefore we have to provide parking for a certain percentage of parking for the residents. And then the church, that was a big concern for the church as well. They wanted to make sure that any developer that was responding was thinking about the parking and trying to be as creative as possible. And so our architects sort of did a preliminary walkthrough site study, and they were able to come up with parking in the rear and then parking under, for the building. So that's where we are now.
Okay, but where are they going to park doing construction? I get complaints almost every Monday morning. So where are they going to park when construction is going on?
Well, that's something that we'd have to consider, because usually when a construction site is active, you cannot park in front of the construction site, right, for safety reasons. So there would be, time during the construction period where the site would be, you would not be able to park in front of the site while it is under construction. And so the church would then have to think about that piece, and most likely they will have to go to another location for their programming as well as their worship services, because it becomes an active construction site, and all across New York City, it becomes sort of a zone where you cannot park in front of it. So the church will have to, during that construction time, the church will not be in operation, because there will be construction happening to their building along with the new construction.
So, Ms. Keller, our district manager put something in the chat, but he's got his hand up as well. But I'm going to get to him, because right now I don't know if Ursula had her questions answered, because Alfredo's next, Alfredo Figueroa. So, Ursula, you good with your question?
I'm done, but believe it or not, if I had a vote, I would vote no.
Okay. All right. So, there you go. So Ursula, said that. Alfredo, you have your hand up, sir.
All right, thank you, guys. A couple of things. I know you just touched on something, Dr. Burke, regarding some recommendations you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's, it was sent out to everybody. I mean, everybody should have them.
Yeah, no, I got it, but there's one there that shouldn't have not been there.
Oh, okay.
The one that pertains to the 4-7 precinct council, that one should not be there. So I just want to put on the record that one should not be there.
Okay.
All right, so moving forward, I think definitely we have to come back to this maybe a couple of times. The drawings, they're a little off. I know they're preliminary, but they're a little off in how everything is laid out. The parking, based on what you guys are talking about and what's being presented on the plans, don't match. Me personally, I'm opposed of the project because it's out of character with the neighborhood. If you look at the neighborhood, and I think maybe moving forward, when you guys do come with your next presentation of drawings, you should show elevations of at least 1,000 feet around that property. Every house around this between 1 and 2 stories high. So putting these two big buildings in the middle there is going to take away from the character of the district. Me personally, I won't feel comfortable living around there and these two buildings going up and taking away sun and light from my property. In regards to the parking, you could put it in the rear yard, but the way it's laid out on the drawings, it doesn't really work. So we got to make sure that what you're proposing and what's actually permitted, as of right, is actually going to work for you guys. Right now, it's not going to work. What you're saying and the way it's drawn up is not going to work. And again, I mean, definitely next time you come, maybe you bring the architect, like that he could present the drawings properly to the board so they could understand exactly what it is that's going on, and they'll know that everything works. I know it's preliminary, it's early, and so this is good that you guys are here, like that y'all could take this feedback and go back to your consultants, and next time y'all come with a better set of plans, of drawings, showing elevations and maybe a zoning analysis of what's permitted, what's not permitted, why you guys are changing the zoning for, like that. It could be in black and white and people can understand exactly what it is, that you guys are requesting the zoning change for. Like I said, that's for now. I know we're going to have multiple conversations regarding this, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I have a follow-up question, but I'll get these questions out based on what Alfredo Figueroa has asked. George Torres, district manager, has a question.
Hey, how you doing? So, I'm sorry. This is a good thing for our board members, because if you recall, many of you may not, because many of you may not have been on the board. Before the pandemic, we had a design charrettes with the city planning department in the office, and they were talking about rezoning Boston Road. So to Alfredo's point, right now, if we just rezone, and my understanding is we're just rezoning this block and lot, it would be out of character because you would have a multi-story building, even though some of the buildings fronting Boston Road, because this is right on the corner of Boston Road, are multi-story, taller. But this would still, I mean, I think I saw 6 or 7 stories on some of these buildings. It would be dramatically different, but that's not taking into account what happens to Boston Road. So if city planning gets what they want with Boston Road, which is a rezoning for all of Boston Road, then this may not necessarily be out of character. So, I think that's maybe something that we can consider. The second issue, and I think that this is the issue that Ursula was speaking to, is that as a community board, we get many complaints from all over the district. And Pastor Pert, we have reached out to your office multiple times about the double parking during church service. We've even received complaints from the 4-7 precinct. So it's just odd that they would say that they would be welcoming of this. We have to have a better solution because your congregants parking, double parking, and then blocking homeowners in while they're at church, and you guys having to call out license plate numbers for them to come and move. That's not workable. And I know that the 47th precinct and every precinct across the city looks the other way on Sunday service as a professional courtesy, but it's still irritating to the people who live on Seymour Avenue. So I think that we need to be a little more conscientious, especially since you're a church. I think, that's for everybody. The final thing that I'll say is, to Alfredo's point on the rezoning, what is it that we need to know and fully understand? So you may not have the answer now, because if I'm not mistaken, you're getting all of these sort of letters of support, which is what you're asking us for, because you still don't have the financing yet from HPD, and there's no guarantee that you'll get it either. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so the other question I have is you have 2 buildings, and this will be the final question. You have the 2 buildings, you have the seniors, and you have the multi-family. Is that part of the program? Is that specified in HPD's program, or can you make them both seniors, for example?
So interestingly enough, the reason we want to have, so it's kind of, it's always like, I forget what that saying is. It's the cart before the horse before the cart. It's sort of like all of these conversations need to happen. Does it happen with this first or that earlier, or, because right now, we are proposing to HPD to finance 2 different programs under one umbrella, right? But that proposal is sort of contingent upon the community's response and saying, yes, we, fully believe that there is a housing shortage. We fully want to support, this concept. We want to offer housing to families. We also want to offer housing to seniors. We see the importance and the viability of that. That's sort of, some of the feedback that we need, because it's really an ask for HPD to finance this under one umbrella, because technically you usually are only financing one type of program individually, right? This would be a unique ask to ask for funding for 2 separate programs. But what happens is we look at all the different ways in which we could rezone the site or ask for a Board of Standards and Appeals variance to allow the church to conceptualize what they want to do, which is to expand their social services, expand their ministry, as well as provide housing. And so there are so many different ways upon which we can look at the site to say, we can now offer this type of housing. We can offer expansion of the church. We can offer expansion of community facility, non-religious use for the social service program. So what we're presenting tonight is sort of the highest density, the biggest bulk, the ideal scenario, with the hopes that conceptually you said to us, look, we do believe in housing. We do want, social services for the community. However, yes, and we want it at the highest amount, or maybe you need to scale it back a bit because we feel like this will be too much. So this is sort of like, this is the most it could be, and then we can scale it back if you feel like this is the greatest density or too much, right? And interestingly enough, that was sort of what you spoke to in terms of the city planning, the City Plan Commission in the Bronx for what they want to do with Boston Road was really sort of his initial reaction was, the council member said, this seems like a lot of density for this particular site. However, given its close proximity to Boston Road and what city planning wants to do, it is sort of in alignment with that hope, right, or that proposal from the city. So we're taking your feedback to heart, and I think we would really want some direction in reference to, if this is too much, what is acceptable? Do you think from, as you're being the nucleus representing the community at large, where do you think we could go with this?
Yeah, no, listen, I really appreciate it. And I think all the board members here appreciate the fact that you are starting early. We always get complaints, or we complain to the developers who don't start the process like on day one. So we are very appreciative of that. And there's a lot for us to absorb. But like I always tell my board members, this is the opportunity, and you just said it, to have that conversation with you about what this project looks like moving forward. We have a lot of homework at the community board to do with asking questions of city planning and asking questions of HPD. But, good luck to you. I know that you're very early in the process. There's not, just for my board members, we don't have to vote on anything today. This is all very preliminary. They are asking for a letter of support. But again, I think we need to have some internal discussions about like what that looks like and what our support looks like moving forward. But that's it. I just want my board members to understand that.
So I think they do. Let me say, actually, Mr. Stricker. So I think our district manager is absolutely right, because normally I'm on the other. It's funny how this worked in the day, right? Because normally I'm on the other side of the housing debate. So, but to everybody's point, this is our chance to do our homework. The one thing that I've always said is that let's make certain that we are fully informed before we make any decisions. So, and I think what I'm hearing so far is that maybe, Ms. Kelly, you guys need to think about scaling back. That was a concern of mine, but I was going on the fact that you've done such excellent work, and in particular in that particular area, looking at what, and as she was on earlier, our not-for-profit chair came up with her survey and what's needed and what's not. But I can comment later because I still see hands up. Ted James, you're up next, sir.
Sure. Thank you. I have a couple of concerns, and I'll be very fast with these.
It's kind of hard to hear you. Can you speak up, please?
Sure. I did have a question about the parking, but most of those were addressed. The other thing I wanted to find out was, is the construction going to be done in phases? And the other one is, how will eligibility be determined? Will there be a lottery, or will it be on a first come, first served basis? And the third thing I want to say is that I was involved in a similar project like this not too long ago with my church, and eventually we had to cancel it because the church was losing.
It's hard to hear you. Can you speak up, please? I'm sorry to keep doing it, but it's hard to hear you.
Okay, never mind. I'll end it there. I'll discuss it later on. I think my phone is active.
Okay, Ms. Keller, will you understand some of the questions? Because Yeah.
I did hear. So the first response I would say is that it really depends on HPD's response to our proposal. So if we intend to have a conversation with them about financing both programs simultaneously, which means that all of the construction would happen at the same time. And then alternatively, I think, if we were to scale back, I guess one of the things we would want to know is, is there really a real push? I mean, the council member was very clear that he was in support of senior housing, and that if something had to go, that was one thing he didn't want to go, right? That he really felt that was needed in the community and would really want to see that happen. So construction would happen simultaneously for both buildings as well as the community facility if we are financed, simultaneously by the city. Alternatively, there may be, we may eliminate one of the programs, which would then mean, again, that, just the community facility in the one building would go up at the same time. If there is a desire to keep both buildings, but we finance them separately, or HPD says, no, we cannot finance both buildings at the same time, then they likely would be phased with the NCP, the family building going up first, and then the senior building going up thereafter. And because this is affordable housing that is receiving subsidy from HPD, all of the apartments would have to go through what they call the Housing 2.0 program. And so it is a lottery where there's a time period where their applications are open to everyone that lives in New York City can apply. And then once the application period is closed, there is no longer an opportunity to apply for the housing. They then take all of those applications and it goes through a random spinning, so to say, and then they spit them out in an order that is an analog. We don't have any control over that. And then they just start calling people in off of the lottery based on whatever number the applicant was assigned, and they're then asked to present their documentation of eligibility for the program. Again, there would be a wide range of salaries for the family building, and for the senior building, it is specific for seniors. It is affordable for seniors, so it's seniors that are at 60% AMI and below.
I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Oh, what I want to say about the zoning change that you require, it depends how far in on the Boston Road rezoning, how far into the side streets are they going with that zoning? Usually It's 100 feet. If you're further into the block than 100 feet, then you have to get a rezoning outside of the Boston Road zoning.
Exactly. And so that would be, again, we have had preliminary conversation with a zoning attorney that we've worked with for a number of years. I mean, this would technically be my company's 5th rezone that we've done privately, and then we've done one with the city as well. And so we have a firm that we've been working with for the last, I'd say, 7 years. And so we will formally engage them. So going forward, once we know, sort of HPD's position, your initial response to this, our attorneys will be presenting the project going forward.
Yeah. The other thing is, the board would definitely want the priority given to people who live in Community Board 12 for the housing.
So
even
the
though
the only program that we would be allowed to do that with is the NCP. The senior program, because it receives federal funding along with the city funding, we have to follow the federal fair housing market rules, which means that the federal only recognizes New York City as one municipality. So it's it's open, it would be open to everyone that lives in New York City. We cannot set aside a preference. And they are still, there's, you know, plenty of lawsuits. They're trying to work that through, you know, 2-3 years from now, it may change. But right now, senior housing is really the only housing that we cannot have a community board preference. We could have it, though, for the NCP program, where there could be a 50% set aside for families that live in Community Board 12.
Okay, Mike Stevens, any other questions?
Mr. Stricker, the other point I wanted to make was that once you're dealing with public funding, the church may have to give up a certain amount of control when it comes to these type of properties.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah. I just, all right.
Speak up.
I just wanted to state that, number one, I understand the parking problem, and I understand what when we talked about the rezoning. The only thing I can think of is you have a clear space behind that that gas station off of Gun Hill Road, the Gulf gas station. There's a lot of empty space there. I don't know who owns it, but if those cars, and you could create a parking space during this implementation stage, that might help render that problem. And that's just a suggestion. All right. But I also want to state that Good Neighbors has done a tremendous job of assisting this entire community board district. All right. They're doing a lot with the residents of public housing. All right. They're doing a lot with the underserved. This project that you're referring to might be a little bit too much because you're trying to please a lot of circumstances. And I understand that. But you may have to scale back to a certain degree. But I'm a proponent of it, and I wish you well with regards to that. Please look into that area behind the gas station that may assist you with your parking situation during this endeavor.
Certainly.
We will do that.
Just for a point of transparency, Mr. Hall is chair of the Housing Committee.
Okay, thank you for that disclosure.
Anthony Reed?
Hello, I'm definitely in agreement with Alfredo and a couple of the other board members in reference to coming back with something more clearer. I'm thankful that you guys came on a first basis, but could you make sure that the community benefits as far as when they're doing the construction is in that language, since you got to come back? Erica?
Yes, we'll definitely talk about the community benefit agreement when we have more of an idea of specifically what we're doing, right? Because there'll be differences whether the Sarah building has to be built prevailing wage. And so that triggers, you know, different needs there. And then the NCP building does not. So that's built open shop. So that's also a consideration. So I think what we can do is we can, as you know, after this presentation, send some bullet points around and maybe some specific questions that we're asking for answers for, which will help then have us go back to our consultants, our architect, in our subsequent conversations with HPD and really begin to formalize. So this is our first pass. We came to the community. We want to get some hardcore feedback from you that we can then continue to design the program so that when we come back, we're saying, based on your feedback, based on HPD's feedback, this is what we are proposing in a more formal sense.
Yes, Ms. Erica, with the community benefits, all right, a lot of times when people come in the Bronx and they're doing developing, all right, and they say community benefits, so they just put the Bronx. We're trying to implement something like zip codes that surround the project, so people in the community can officially be working in the community, because it's like a sense of ownership when you work in the community. So if you could some kind of way implement the zip codes that surround your project over there, I think that would be feasible to community benefits over here. Thank you so much for coming.
You're quite welcome. And, you know, I'm a minority women business enterprise, so I take that very seriously. You can look up any of the projects. You can ask HPD. They asked me to come out and speak with other developers because, you know, sometimes people can't seem to figure out how to hire minority and women business enterprises. But we have it figured out. We share that information, and we use all of those strategies to make sure we have local hires. With the GCs, we're making sure that they're bringing their supervisory staff from the direct community. So we work very hard and have become an advocate with the agencies, showing that it can be done, and having some real hardcore stories of being transformative down, you know, to individual lives where laborers have gotten jobs and over the course of the years have become licensed superintendents. So we are very serious about that work, and we will work with the community organizations to ensure that we're targeting not only the zip codes, but those directly in the community that need that support and those opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The last hand I see is Mrs. Denise Bond.
Good evening. Thank you. My only comment was that I think that the scale of the project, and this has been said already, it may be, if it could be scaled down. And I'm thinking that if you keep the senior housing and the expansion of the church, then maybe that would really maybe fit better within the community at this point, as opposed to having, and then the height of the building is another issue to be dealt with as well. So that's just my comment. That was it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Good comment, Denise. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, being no further comments, I will tell the presenters tonight, you know, we have to see more of what you're going to do before we can make any determination. And we would like to see you come back with another plan. And I would recommend that it be a lot lower than what you have now, as far as the height of the buildings and so forth.
Okay, so we take that information. We'll take the conversation tonight into consideration, and then as a follow-up to this, we will send an email to Mr. Torres with some specific bullet points so that we can revise accordingly. I'm asking some specific questions that we could just get back in writing so that we can revise accordingly. And then that will drive our conversations with HPD and our consultants. And then, like we said, when we come back, it will be more formally as we begin sort of the ULURP process. I guess one of the takeaways, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear, one of the takeaways I hear is that there is an interest in doing something. However, the density that we're proposing this evening, which is kind of everything, your initial blush is that it's just too much. And so you would want us to provide some housing and some support for community facility, but you want to see it downscaled. Is that a correct takeaway?
I believe that's a good takeaway, but I would ask you that also when you send the stuff to Mr. Torres, the district manager, that you send a copy of those, what you're looking for, to the chair of the board and myself, the chair of the menus.
I would also suggest to chair the housing committee too, Mr. Stricker. So yourself, myself, and Mr. Hall. And also Alfredo, since Alfredo's an expert in stuff like this too. I would send it to Alfredo too.
So could Mr. Torres at least just let us know who should be CC'd on the correspondence, and then we'll make sure that we're including everyone.
Erica, like we did the first time, when you send it to us, we'll share it with the board.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
If I may, by giving thanks this evening to everyone for hearing us, but just one additional point. is that over the past 20 or so years that the church and Good Neighbors have been serving the community. Most of the time, the funding for doing these services, whether it's pantry or clothing or the like, it's a whole range, have been borne by the church. It comes right out of our offerings and tithe. It's just of recent that we've been getting some help from food bank and the like. And so it has been a real burden. And so part of the reason for this project was that we can get some kind of income stream so we can continue to afford to provide these services to the community. So that's why we thought to build at this scale, because it is a very burdensome and expensive prospect to be serving the community. So I just wanted to drop that in for consideration. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And again, I want to thank you for coming out to the board at this early time so we can get everything required and we understand each other better. So when you this final design comes up, there will be no issues.
Actually, there's one more hand,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Stricker. I see George Torres, our dispenser, has his hand up.
It's if this issue's over, it's making a suggestion for the public hearing for Strang Avenue.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we have to have the public hearing before we have the vote, and since we're not going to make the May meeting, we may have to do it. Our full board meeting for this month is the 28th, but the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, we don't have any meetings at this moment that I can see on my schedule. And we can also do it an hour earlier before the full board meeting, but that requires a minimum of board members. So a public hearing, you need to have 20% of your full board. I think we have 39 board members now. So I'm bad with math. I don't know what 20% of that is. Maybe 7 people. Board members have to be at the public hearing in order for it to qualify as a public hearing. So the last time we did this on the same day, it was a disaster. But again, I don't want to waste board members' time and bring them back for a double meeting, but like on a Monday and then a Thursday, but that's entirely up to you. That's something to consider. I can shoot an email. You guys can think about it, or you can make a decision tonight.
George, as a presider over the general board meeting, I don't want to do that again. So I can tell you right now, I mean, that's out as far as I'm concerned. So, we need to have it where we can digest it and move forward. So between whatever you and Mr. Stricker come up with is fine by me. But
yeah, well, either Tuesday or Wednesday.
All right. So if we do, Ursula needs the 2 weeks. So tomorrow would precisely be 2 weeks. Ursula, is that good enough if we schedule it for the 26th then?
Yeah, that's good for me. I'll do it tomorrow morning.
All right, cool. All right. So we're in agreement. The 26th, then we'll do the public hearing for 1959 Strang.
Okay. Again, I want to thank the people from Seymour Avenue and also the people from Strand Avenue who came out tonight. And if there's no further comments, I will close the meeting. Okay, I need a motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sounds like the majority to me, so.
Aye.
We close this land use meeting at 8:34 on April 11th, 2022. You all have a blessed evening.
Good evening.
Good night,
Stop recording.
Thank you.